I played the original Titanfall almost 10 years ago when I was a literal child. I played Titanfall 2 on release nearly 7 years ago, still basically a child, and here I am today covering Titanfall news on my channel. But I have a confession. I'm a fake. I'm a fraud. Some might even call me an imposter. I have never played Titanfall 2's campaign. Until like a couple months ago. I think I launched it like one time when I first got the game, but I just never picked it up again. With the recent influx of all things Titanfall, and honestly just so I could understand the memes better, I decided it's about time. I knew that generally speaking, this game's campaign is regarded very highly, and boy, I was not disappointed. Somehow for the last like 7 years, I managed to avoid most spoilers, so I went into this knowing pretty much nothing, and for that I am eternally grateful because this was a beautiful experience. This video is going to start from a more like logistical game design perspective, and then we're going to move into the more big picture artistic beauty perspective. It's better than you think, so you want to stick around. Let's talk about it. Before talking about the greatness of the game, I want to very quickly mention places I think the game could do better. Not that I have many complaints, but I think they're worth mentioning. First, like many others, I just wish it was longer. Story of my life. If you play the story leisurely, it won't take you any longer than 7 hours, and that's like absolute max. For most people, it's like 5 hours. I do understand the shortness of the game's campaign was probably pretty necessary coming from like a game development resource perspective, but still, I just wish it was more. Honestly, I don't know if this is a real complaint or just me naturally wanting more of a good thing. My only other real complaint about Titanfall is the music. It's okay. I am an absolute slut for video game soundtracks. Throughout all of my time gaming, whether it be for the sake of emotional significance or just immersion, music plays a very important role in a game for me. And in this department, I just think Titanfall 2 is lacking. Sure, during boss battles, the music ramps up a bit, and during darker moments, there are darker melodies, but other than that, it is nothing beyond average. Story of my life. I'm talking about the size of my penis. I feel like the emotional moments, especially in this game, could have done a lot better with better music. As for my complaints, that's pretty much it. So let's get into what a masterpiece Titanfall 2's campaign really is. During every step of the game, you are fully immersed in different settings. And God, do they really capture you as a player. During the first mission, you, Jack Cooper, go from a stunningly beautiful simulation being trained by Captain Ty Lastimosa to being yeeted in a drop pod, injected with pain meds, and thrown into the ass end of combat. Your fellow footmen are dying by your side, there's bullets zipping by your head. After Lastimosa is killed, again, you have no choice but to be captured in this setting. It becomes clear that besides a broken mech and some creatures that are straight out of Monster Hunter, you are alone. Well, perhaps not fully alone, but the only people you might encounter are people who have been ordered to see you dead. That wasn't real. That was just for the footage. I didn't actually die there. And this isn't just the first mission. Every single mission brings you and BT to a completely different setting that truly captures you as a player. Wow. Look at all those. I still don't know how the green screen works. I hope this looks good when I'm like looking at the clips. Look at all those settings. Holy crap. I'll talk about specifically special ones here in a sec, but every single mission in this campaign was a joy to complete. Not only does each one offer a very unique setting like I just mentioned, but each one offers a unique experience that is fun. I never found myself thinking, oh geez, this mission's great, but that last one was terrible. I just never thought something like that. I do think that towards the end, it got a little bit redundant with Titan v Titan combat, but the game is called Titanfall. What the hell do you expect? One of my favorites that really fits the bill here is called Into the Abyss, where you and BT are essentially taking a shortcut through a manufacturing facility. However, you two quickly become separated. You see BT get helplessly clawed away by one of those grabbers, you know, that you could buy at the book fair. One of those. And you can do nothing but watch and, more importantly, chase. While chasing BT, you get deeper and deeper into this manufacturing plant. And it becomes clear that one thing fabricated here is manufactured housing for the sake of combat simulations. To get through this factory, you have to go through the assembly line. And the way that this is implemented is so cool. First, you have to stay on the platforms which are being manufactured, which has risks itself. Again, I was just dying for the footage there. That wasn't real. But at every station, you can jump off the assembly line, kill a bunch of stations of guards, and then get back on the assembly line. The way that the combat plays out here, with moving assembly lines, a constantly changing environment, houses that are being built above you, all with Titanfall movement, God, it's so good. This entire section felt like I was in a movie. It really reminded me of the Star Wars part where Anakin's like jumping through the lava and shit. You know what I'm talking about. Ugh, what am I saying? Another example of the missions just being a joy to complete is the 8th mission, the Ark. This one is another banger. You and your team are chasing the Draconis in an attempt to steal the Ark before the IMC uses it for their nefarious purposes. Again, when playing this mission, it feels like you're in a movie. You're fighting enemy squads on the side of a giant moving ship while you take out its main weapons. Very, very cinematic. Eventually, you're joined by another squadron of pilots, and again, the combat here is picturesque. As you move up the ship as a team of basically unstoppable super soldiers, you demolish everything. This entire mission felt like what the Halo 5 trailer looked like. A squad of heavy-hitting super soldiers just blasting through waves and waves of enemies while you're moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The game manages to fill that fantasy of high stakes, high mobility, high fun combat. Eventually, you pilot the ship just before having a fight on the hull with Viper. This is probably the most notable boss encounter of the entire campaign, and for good reason. The fight, especially this cinematic part, I mean, look at it. Look at BT go. I've kind of strayed away from the point that every mission in this campaign is fun to play, but this entire section specifically is so high-paced, high stakes. You basically have no choice but to be entertained. And now for effect and cause. My God, you cannot talk about Titanfall 2's campaign without talking about this mission. It is a masterpiece. A large portion of this campaign is Jack Cooper trying to find Major Eli Anderson. And this ultimately brings you to his last known location, this abandoned research facility. As you explore this dead place, you experience something very strange, and you experience it several times.
Overseer requests all teams working on the Ark analysis report to the lecture hall for General Marder's presentation.
All right. By decisively neutralizing the militia forces, we will in fact safeguard the... Yes, pilot, may I help you?
You seem to time travel into the past, seeing what this facility once was. At first, it's unknown why this is happening and what implications it has. You learn, however, that the research done at this facility caused distortions in time, which explains those episodes we were experiencing. After that, we learn that Major Eli Anderson, he did not have a good time when he was exploring this place. He did, however, have a device on his wrist that let him travel time. Remember those distortions earlier? With this device, you can do that intentionally. With the click of a button, the user can travel between the past and the present. So, like the good soldier we are, we pry the device off of Anderson's cold, dead body and use it to continue exploring the facility. While this mission is super important from a story perspective, The gameplay, man. Ooh. It starts off pretty simple. To continue through paths that are now full of debris and fire, you travel to the past so you can get through it. Simple enough. But it soon gets implemented in combat, most notably the elevator room. In the past, there are waves of guards coming through the elevators, but in the present, there are dangerous creatures filling the room. Everybody's trying to kill you. Assuming you're playing on a harder difficulty, which I am because I'm a super good gamer, you pretty much have to continuously time travel between, the past and present. And it sounds like that's like convoluted and just like not cool, but the way it's implemented, it's so smooth and it's like the perfect amount of challenge. There's a scene towards the end of this mission that's same concept, but this time it's with Titans, and again, it's so cool. And it's not like this time travel mechanic is just some gimmick the game uses for an encounter or two. You need to use it consistently throughout the entire mission. You need to utilize it to get through the rest of the facility. The creativity with this time travel concept is extremely unique, and the execution in-game is, dare I say, perfect. Effect and Cause, in my opinion, is one of the most enjoyable video game missions ever, and it is by far one of the most creative and unique. This mission specifically is a testament to the incredible entertainment value of Titanfall 2's campaign. Another, and honestly the main reason I think this campaign is so good, is the relationship between Jack Cooper and BT. Simply put, the design behind these two characters is just unparalleled. I already made an entire video about BT's significance specifically, so I highly recommend you watch that after this. But in general, I think BT is one of the best video game characters ever made. At the start of the campaign with that introduction dialogue, it really seems like we're going to be stuck with the classic, like, stereotypical stone cold robot who doesn't understand sarcasm. We've seen it before. That is very much what it seems like at first, but as the missions progress, the character development that we see is incredible. And no, it's not like we see BT blossom into this like outwardly caring, emotional, bubbly Titan. I don't like thinking about BT in that way. Instead, the stoic firmness of BT it's wavering, it shakes a little bit during some of the most important moments in the story. To list and analyze them all would genuinely take quite a while. I mentioned some of them in this video, but even that doesn't capture all of them. There are just so many connections from the beginning of the story all the way to the end that are so beautiful, and the main vessel here is BT's words. There are many times throughout the story where, as an AI programmed military tool essentially, we'd expect BT to act very differently. But instead, we see glimpses of emotion during these times, or some might even say glimpses of humanity. He stresses certain words.
Cooper is my pilot.
Or maybe he says something unexpected.
Protocol 3, I will not lose another pilot.
And all of these moments get us closer and closer to BT. So, by the end, when BT sacrifices himself to save us and the entire planet of Harmony, Jack Cooper is devastated. But that's another point. It's not just Jack Cooper that's devastated. It's the player. And that could not be done without the masterclass design of Cooper, which is, admittedly, pretty simple. But that's the point. We don't really know anything about Cooper. His lines aren't that interesting. Sure, he definitely has some, charisma and wit and jokes, and he's voiced by Matt Mercer, so what's not to love? But beyond his military capabilities as a pilot, we don't see a lot of developments in his character. Instead, I'm inclined to say that the character that you play for the entire story acts more as a connection between you, the human player sitting on the couch or at your desk, and the in-game character, BT. Cooper's very, very simple design makes it so that instead of BT talking to Cooper, he's talking to you. Yes, you. You! When BT says those famous words, "Trust me," obviously he's literally talking to Cooper, but really, he's talking to you, the player. When BT says, "Cooper is my pilot," in response to Briggs trying to separate the two, I'm not sure Cooper is the most fitting name there. I think it's your name. Your name being Jeffrey, spelled like that. Jesus Christ. Are you guys okay? What were your parents thinking? My favorite example of Cooper really just being a vessel for the player to be in his position is right after BT's original chassis is destroyed. At this point, BT is questionably dead. Neither Cooper nor you know if he's still alive. Yeah, BT gave us his data core, but oof, that does not look good. Is the data core the real BT, or is that just his processing power? We don't know. Cooper doesn't know. You don't know. So what Respawn did with this next sequence is genius. Escaping this facility, Cooper goes ballistic. Waves and waves of enemies mean nothing in the wake of Cooper's bewilderment, rage, frustration. But really, it is you going ballistic with your shock and anger. From an artistic perspective, I'll get into that. This is beautiful. But from a game design perspective, it works perfectly. Cooper has the smart pistol, which is strong enough to be bussin', but it's not too strong where it's not fun. But it gets even better. During this sequence, there are several characters trying to get in contact with Cooper through his comms.
BT, Cooper, what's your status? Cooper, how copy? Over.
But Cooper does not say a word. He goes full nonverbal. This would have been the perfect place for Respawn to put some filler dialogue about Cooper expressing his anger. If they did this, I'm sure that it would be fine. I'm sure that the lines would be great, and they'd be able to utilize the talent of Matt Mercer. But they chose for Cooper to be silent. This follows what I was talking about earlier. Not Cooper's emotions, but the player's emotions. No matter the feeling that you felt after BT got gutted, this silence allows the player to feel what they need to feel and not just accept some "I, Jack Cooper, am angry" dialogue. Me personally, I was stun-locked during this moment. I was shocked. Cooper's silence here allowed me to think about that and feel conflicted and confused, all while taking out my anger on some guards. When I actually played this mission, I was fully immersed and feeling the things that Cooper would have felt. Looking back at it now, though, that is some fantastic game design, that I was able to feel that way. Again, both from like a literal, like logistical game design perspective, but also a bigger picture artistic one. Cooper's simplicity allows the player to put themselves into Cooper's shoes, feel the things that he would feel, and honestly, more importantly, connect with BT the way that he actually would. This makes BT's arc and eventual death much more impactful than any standard main character would have been able to do here. Some of the most legendary games ever created rely on the player just making the choices that the character canonically makes. And that's fine, that's great. That's not a bad thing. But Titanfall does something that is incredibly well done and unique. Sure, there are plenty of games where you are the character because you make the choices that affect the world around you. But Titanfall 2 is different. Respawn made the main character who you play extremely simple, and they accompanied him with a relatively simple campaign, which to me is a little bit concerning at first when you hear that. But as I just talked about for several minutes, it's actually great. It allows you to experience and actually connect with the perfection of a character named BT. Again, I made a separate video about why BT is that perfect character, why anything I just said actually matters. All of this being said, plus the fun and unique missions, the incredible scenery, the fantastic movement and gunplay, this campaign is really hard to match. Out of my fear of facing angry gamers in the comments, I don't think that I can say Titanfall 2 has the best campaign ever created. Honestly, I don't know if you can say that about any game, but out of FPS shooters, this one takes the cake. This is the first video I've ever made in this informal commentary style, so if you have any critiques, let me know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and most importantly, thank you for watching.